Are you ready?
Activate.
Sequence start 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shadows in the Dark. I am your host, Jeremiah Greer, and I tell you what, we have a interesting show for you tonight. Got a couple things that's going to be going on, and a little bit like we done the last show, we're going to have two guests tonight. Our first guest is going to be with us for the first 30 minutes or so of the show. That is going to be Mel from Livestream Productions. I hope I got that right. We'll know in a minute here. But we're also going to be welcoming Olav Phillips, our resident conspiracy theorist, during the rest of the show. We're going to talk about quite a few things here. The focus of the discussion is going to be about Buzz Aldrin's comment about a monolith on Mars's moon Phobos. So that should be very interesting. But I tell you what, I want to go ahead and get Mel on with us here. So let's bring him on to the show. Mel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. A little tired, long day of shooting, but glad to be here.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you here, and we're going to talk about an interesting event that you are putting together. And now, was I correct? Is it Livestream Productions, or
that is correct? And we have a media wing where we do video and audio production for a number of different groups.
Oh, okay. Well, wonderful. Now, this event that you guys are putting on is coming up in November in Charlotte. So what exactly is it that you're putting together there?
This is called the Charlotte Paranormal Investigators Convention. We want this event to be something more than just the typical ghost hunt event or your typical scare fest. These are all great events. But this is a program designed for investigators. Sure, the public is welcome. We need the public there. But we're going to be introducing some new technology. We're going to be raffling off a few pieces of new equipment that's just been custom built. And we really have a great lineup.
Yeah, you really do. Looking at it, of course the lineup includes myself, so we know it's already starting off great, right?
I mean, you can't miss. I mean, with Mysteries Magazine there. But let's see, we have the infamous Keith Age from Spook, Children of the Grave. And, of course, everyone's favorite from Ghost Hunters, Steve Gonzalez and Dave Tango. Tiffany Johnson. Everyone loves her. She's such a bubble and a delight. From Haunted Evidence, we have Patrick Burns, who has he's well recognized with his EVP research. We have Carmen Reed, in which the movie The Haunting in Connecticut was based on. And then we have Tim and Trish Yancey. Tim has Encounters Radio. He was involved with a number of different projects from Bell Witch to Amityville Horror. Father Andrew Calder, Demonologist, Exorcist. Beth Brown. And we're happy to have ParaX Radio and their founders at our event. And believe it or not, we have 18 of their talk show hosts that's going to be there as well.
Wow. I didn't know all those were coming. They have a good lineup over there, for sure. We've had Dave and Tom on our show. Two great guys, I have to say. Excuse me there. But yeah, and this is, now when is this exactly going on in November?
It's November the 6th through the 8th, and it's going to be at the Ramada Airport Conference Center. It's a nice facility. The hotel rooms are great. They have a really nice restaurant there, and for those that are traveling, the rooms are $89 a night. That includes breakfast for two. Our main ballroom, we can seat about 900 people. We have 3 ballrooms, then we have some small breakout rooms, plus our vendor area. So it's a really nice setup. Plus, we have 2 ghost hunts. One is already completely sold out. That's with Steve. We have a second ghost hunt with Dave Tango, and we still have a few tickets remaining for that. And if everybody wants to know how to get to it or more information, they can go over to ls-pic.org.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we have it, if anybody has any trouble, we have a banner on our homepage, shadowsinthedarkradio.com, where we go right to the homepage of that. And you guys have a lot of information on there. Of course, you can see, what time someone's speaking. You got the whole schedule up there, which is, I tell you, it's just it's jam packed. I mean, it looks like it's going to be kind of a nonstop event.
It is. Friday night we start off with a Q&A. Then Saturday morning we crank up. There's 15-minute breaks in between the lectures. And Steve and Dave are going to be on stage together. And they have graciously broken their time up between Saturday and Sunday because we know there's other people that's coming up against them. And so if there's something that you're interested in, you got a chance to either see Steve and Dave either day and still be able to attend other lectures. And one other thing I want to add, too, we have been endorsed now by the Institute of Noetic Science, and it is really great to have them part of this event as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm just looking at the schedule here. 3 rooms. I mean, it's you're going to have your choice to hear about all kinds of stuff dealing with paranormal investigations. Now, is all the speakers that you have there, is the focus going to be just on ghost hunting, or will any of them get into other aspects of the paranormal?
There's going to be some training on various tools, some of the new technologies that's coming out. ProMeasure has really been doing some serious research, and they're going lately on the Queen Mary. They did some serious research, and some of the new technology now is beyond a lot of the things that you're seeing currently on television. Quite often you see on Ghost Hunters where they're trying to figure out what words are being said. But with some of the new EVP technology, it's almost real time. And on the Queen Mary, they were asking specific questions, and they weren't getting one-word responses. They were getting complete sentences back.
Wow.
And the technology is every day is just advancing. And that's one thing that brought the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And for those that aren't familiar with Noetic Science, it was founded by Edgar Mitchell. He was one of the astronauts that went to the moon. He had some experiences while he was in space and came back. And so when I told Tim Yancey about it, he was so excited because he had done an event. Edgar Mitchell had done an event at their church, and Lisa Vanderboom is coming in from San Francisco with Ions, and Tim had met Lisa at an event down in Florida with Edgar Mitchell. So we're happy that they have signed on, and they said they want to go with us every city that we go into, and they have a whole department that's specializing in afterlife studies, or afterlife.
Mm-hmm. Now, and kind of mentioning that, I mean, the one we're talking about here specifically is taking place in Charlotte. But now, is there plans for this event mainly to travel around to other cities with a different mix of guests and things along those lines?
That is true. We have had constant calls from people from like the show's International Ghost Hunter, Frank Zaffis. God, I'm so sorry, man. I can't think. Forgive me.
I was
up at 5:30 this morning, and we had to do a 2-cam shoot in Augusta, Georgia, and I just got in, and I worked a festival all day yesterday, so I'm running on about 3 hours sleep the last 2 or 3 days. But everybody in the world has contacted us. And Para-X Radio and PTN, the Paranormal Television Network, they're ready to do a tour with us. And we've just got a lineup of great people that are wanting to join us in various cities, including people like George Norrie from Coast to Coast. Oh, wow. We've heard from his management, and we were told that George would be interested in doing at least 2 shows with us in 2010.
Wonderful, yeah. I mean, that's always a good person to have, as a guest. I tell you, I wish Art Bell would go out and do some shows and stuff. Yeah, I tell you, miss him. I really do. Really miss Art Bell.
I do. God, Art's an old friend. I've got a bunch of photos before Ramona passed, where we were on vacation together and at the beach. And God, he was always such a pleasure and very knowledgeable, and had worked his show a number of times with various people that we were in management with over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really miss them. Now, tickets. How much are the tickets? I know you have some one-day passes. You've got the weekend pass. You also have, a special that you can get the weekend tickets plus the ghost hunts.
That is correct. The ghost hunt is $189. That includes all 3 days and the ghost hunt. And when you finish the ghost hunt, we have a jam session going on at the hotel. And we got a lineup of first-rate musicians. If you don't go to the ghost hunt, the weekend pass is $149, which still includes the jam. And we have daily tickets for $80. And that gives you every event room and access to the vendors. And if you're coming, you've got to sign up for the raffle. We are going to be giving away 2 Mel K2 hybrid meters. These are the souped up models that have all kind of the gadgets and bells and whistles. And ProMeasure is coming up with a new piece of equipment that has its own feel built in, so that if anything is penetrating that feel, you get responses on it as well. Some really cool technology is being developed, and we're looking forward to sharing it and bringing it for the first time public in Charlotte.
Yeah, I see. Now I'll be looking forward to that myself. Just to see what exactly is helping to move this field forward. I've always believed that, for quite some time, it's really been just spinning wheels, not really moving that quickly. And it'd be nice to see some new equipment out there that might just do that.
Well, Billy Graham said something that got my attention a long time ago. My dad was a Southern Baptist evangelist, so I grew up in that aspect. And I had always questioned afterlife and where we go when we die. And every major religion teaches that there are spirits. There are, and there's demons, there's good, and there's evil. But Billy Graham said something that caught my attention, and over all the years I'd never forgotten it. And he made a statement that every day science comes closer to proving the reality of the Bible. Mm-hmm. And he said, it has now been proven that we live in a multi-dimensional world. And how this topic came up, someone had asked, what happens to you when you die? According to the Christian religion, when you pass, you don't immediately go to heaven.
Right.
You don't go till the rapture, judgment day. So where are you? Billy Graham made a statement. He says, as I speak to you here tonight, a freight train could be passing through this stadium in another dimension. And I'm like, whoa. That is, that's really a heavy statement. And so we all have had these experiences in our life that are beyond coincidences. I've shared some with my grandmother who passed, and she made me a firm believer. There was a little incident that happened, and I'll share this very quickly. We had moved my grandmother down from Maryland to South Carolina just before her passing because we knew her time was coming close. And I went up with some friends, and we packed her furniture and everything, and we brought it back down. And as my wife unpacked her china and was putting it up in her hutch, one piece was missing, and it was a saucer. Now, what makes this special is this china was made in the 40s. It had a green pattern with a gold leaf. And Grandma had talked to me, and she says, honey, if there's a way to let you know, you will know. And we had to take the U-Haul truck back after we finished unloading everything. And I'm not a flea market or a yard sale type person, but right across the street from where we took the U-Haul truck, which is about 12, 14 miles from where we lived, there was a little yard sale kind of like on the side of the highway. And my wife pulled in, and we got out, and we walked over to the table, and she started yelling, "Mel, come here, come here." As soon as I walked over to the table, there laid a saucer that looked almost identical to what we had unpacked a couple of days before. And it was 35 cents, so I grabbed it. When I got home, Jeremiah, Mel became a really firm believer. It was the exact pattern with the same numerals on the bottom.
Wow.
So that's so far beyond winning the lottery statistically that I mean, you know, God don't need burning bushes anymore. I mean, think about it. There's billboards and radio. You know, you could be thinking about something and an answer will come to you.
Yeah.
You know? And so I see this still, you know, it's in its infancy stages. It really is. And so that's one thing I'm looking forward about Charlotte, that we're bringing training tools there for the best of the best, because I feel that the most of the paranormal societies now have a major and a very important function in everyday life. Homes are being built everywhere. They're being built on top of burial sites. And, you know, I have Native American heritage in me, and you know, I believe that our spirits still remain. Our families are still close to us. And, you know, there's a lot of unanswered questions. And when they're able to debunk, that's great. It helps put families at ease. When they find that there's strong EMF fields that may be caused by wiring and all, it helps the family to understand and how to deal with it. You know, those are things that can change a family and how they survive. And, you know, like I said, what the paranormal groups do is really some important work in how they aid the society. Yeah, a lot of people get into it for the fun, but there's a lot of people into it because they like to help people. And I see what we're doing as a tool that will help people, and we're going to have a heck of a good time while we're there.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great event. A lot of great people lined up for it. Now, does Lightstream Productions, does your company focus on just paranormal related events, or do you do other ones?
We have done a wide gambit. I have been in the management and expo business for over 25 years, pushing close to 30. That ages me a bit. But many of your listeners probably know who Daniel Brinkley is. He was the guy that got hit by lightning. He was dead for 28 minutes, and very successful author. His books in 21 languages. Saved by the Lightning, Peace in the Light. He was. There was a movie made about him by Fox, which Eric Roberts played him in the movie, and I was his manager for over 25 years. And I have worked venues in almost every major city from New York, Chicago, L.A., San Francisco, and you can just about name a state, and I can tell you a city that we've been into. And so over the years, I've worked in event from managing to event management, and you know, it's just been a progression of growth for us. And Lisa Van de Boom, I met her in 1999 in Chicago. And that was a life-altering experience for me. That was right before she had went with the Institute of Noetic Science. And she was a senior strategic planning manager and channel director for Telelabs. So very intelligent lady, and I look so forward to having her with us in Charlotte. And there's some really great people that's coming, very knowledgeable in their fields. And that's why IONS is part of this event. It's part of learning process for them. And, you know, as our scientists do more research, it's going to be shared around the country as we move around and as we grow.
And, one of the great things about events like this is not only you're going to get a lot of good information from, some top-notch guests. When you're talking about Dave Tango, Keith Age, Richard Burns, these are really top-notch guests. But, you're going to get a lot of people there. And this is an opportunity to network and speak with other groups or investigators about how they do things. So there's a wealth of information that's going to be offered.
I understand we have people coming from South Dakota, Minnesota, Washington State, San Francisco, L.A., various parts of Texas, I think 3 or 4 different cities of Texas. We have people coming in from Florida. I think right now it looks like we got people coming in from about 15 to 20 states.
Wow.
So there's a lot of paranormal societies, radio show hosts that'll be there that's members of various paranormal societies, and they'll all be there sharing their knowledge and what's going on in their particular markets. And, like I said, it's going to be a growing experience for everyone.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Mel, give us one more time the website where they can find out more information, where to pick up tickets, and also, the accommodations where this is going to take place and where they can stay.
Well, first of all, they can always click on the banner ad on your website. Mm-hmm. Then they can go over to our website, www.ls-pic.org. That's short for Lightstream Paranormal Investigators Convention. That's ls-pic.org. And you can see the speaker page, read all about them. The schedule is posted. The tickets, you can go and click and go ahead and get your tickets. And as I said, there are a few remaining tickets for the ghost hunts. And I understand that some of these guys are planning on dressing up for our jam session on Saturday night in costumes. So we want everybody to have a good time. And it's at the Ramada, which is a really nice hotel. It's an older hotel, and I'm interested to see what's going to show up at that hotel, because that hotel's had a few people die in it over the years.
Oh, wow.
So who knows? We might have our own investigation right there within the hotel. It's going to be interesting to see what the equipment picks up. So I'm looking so forward to seeing what's happening and meeting a lot of new friends and helping people to network together.
Wow. Now, for those who obviously this was internet-based radio, so, we got people all over the country, all over the world that listen to our show. Can they, kind of continue to monitor that website to see if one's coming near them, if they can't make the Charlotte one?
That is correct. There is an upcoming event area on our website that'll be telling the various cities that we're going into in Florida, in Texas, in New York, Chicago, and we're planning to go to Phoenix as well.
All right, wonderful. Well, Mel, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. I know you are just wore out, so.
Yeah, hey, it's always a pleasure to talk with you, Jeremiah. I'm looking so forward to seeing you guys at the show and to having all of your listeners to join us in Charlotte. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to learn, and hopefully we'll all grow.
Yes, I hope so. Well, again, Mel, I really appreciate you joining us. And for those out there, we're going to be back in just a moment with our guest, Olav Phillips. We're going to talk about this whole Buzz Aldrin comment about a monolith being on the moon of Mars, and that is Phobos. Should be very, very interesting.
Visit www.shadowsinthedarkradio.com today to sign up for our free newsletter, join as a member of our forum, or browse our online store where you can find books, CDs, and DVDs, like a signed copy of The President's Vampire by Robert Damon Schneck, or the complete works of Dr. Gary Frick for only $20. That's 4 books signed by Dr. Frick that carry a great message. You will also find downloadable products like Mysteries Magazine and the Donald Kehoe interviews, DVDs featuring Charlie Carlson and Mr. Lobo. So go to www.shadowsinthedarkradio.com today and be a part of the show.
Well, I know everyone out there who has been listening to Shadows in the Dark for quite some time knows exactly who Olav Phillips is. For those who don't, he is our resident conspiracy theorist. He is the founder and operator of anomalies.net. And, you know what, just a great guy. Hey, Olav, welcome to the show again.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Well, you know, it's been a while since you've been on the show. You actually, you know, you had a good stint there where you're on very frequently, so we gave you a break.
Yes. Hopefully the break is over now. I need to spread my message.
Yes, but no, it's great to have you back on, and we're going to be talking about some interesting things tonight. Mainly this comment that Buzz Aldrin made about this monolith on Phobos, but also I wanted to bring up a few other things. So, you know, let's kind of, if you don't mind, we'll kind of hit the Buzz Aldrin comment in a few. I want to get these other things kind of first, because we probably won't spend as much time on them.
Well, I also want to mention for the listeners out there that the Buzz Aldrin comment, I did write that in my my article for Mysteries Magazine. So however much we drill into it, if you want to hear more in depth my thoughts and feelings, or read more in depth of my thoughts and feelings, definitely get the latest issue of Mysteries Magazine once it's out, because I wrote a very long treatment on that, and I think people will enjoy it. So,
yeah.
All right, so let's go.
All right, so trying to adjust some of my volume levels here, just not working out. Hopefully everybody can hear Olav out there pretty well. But anyway, okay.
I'm being silenced.
Yes, you are. You conspiracy theorist, you. All right, the first thing I want to talk about, which actually I was informed today, probably not more than 40 minutes ago, that Google apparently has mapped and gave the locations of the FEMA concentration camps. Have you seen this?
I have not. I know in the past there's been some discussion and rumors that Google in the Google Maps had mapped it out. I know a lot of people were searching for them. There's a large number of anomalies that actually show up on Google Maps. There's a few places where there's one in China where supposedly somebody had found a UFO that was landed at some sort of airfield. There's another actually in China where one of the Google Maps satellite passes picked up some sort of an experimental Chinese nuclear submarine. So there's a lot of stuff out there that's on Google, and people have been hunting for it. So I'm not surprised that somebody found the FEMA camps. I don't know if it was actually Google that did it, but I'm not surprised that they were actually located. They're there. I mean, they do exist. This is not, made up. I mean, what they're actually for is, there's some debate about it, but the camps actually do exist.
Right. Well, I'll have to send you the link to this because it's
absolutely.
It's on Google Maps, and of course when you look at it, the whole United States is nothing but a bunch of blue arrows. I mean, it's crazy.
The emergency plan that those camps are a part of, basically they, it really, from my understanding, it really kind of went by population size. But they're pretty much in every state waiting for rioters and dissenters when something happens. What that something is a government contrived, that we could spend all night talking about. But there are, locations set up that have been designated to house, let's just say dissenters, for lack of a better term. And that could be anything, it could be political prisoners. It could be, it could be religious. It could be anything.
And look, I just want to say thanks to Mel, who joined us for the first 30 minutes of the show there. That is actually where I got the link, and he's posting it in our chat room right now for all those who may be interested and seeing if there's one near you, because it gives city, state, and basically kind of where it's at. So it's pretty interesting.
It's highly likely that there is one near you.
Yes, looking at this, I would definitely say so, because this is a huge list. This isn't like one or two places. I mean, it literally looks like it goes into the hundreds.
It probably is in the hundreds. I mean, in states with larger populations, obviously, if there was some sort of a breakdown of lawlessness, that you would need a larger number of facilities to house people that you're not happy with. And I was actually thinking about something, because the rumors of these camps have existed for some time. This is nothing new. I mean, for 10 years people have been talking about these camps. In fact, I remember when the Timothy McVeigh thing went down in the Oklahoma City, there were actually photographs circling around. This is before Google Maps, obviously, but there were photographs circling around of one of these apparent camps with a large number of U-Haul trucks, yellow painted U-Haul trucks, like sitting in in a parking lot. So these camps have been around for some time. But the one thing that I have been thinking about recently, and I'm wondering what the correlation is that there seems to be an acceleration of interest in these things. Not on our side. On our side, it's always been there. Everybody wants to know where they are and what they're for. But on the government side, there's been an acceleration of interest, and I wonder if it's about the H1N1 thing.
Excuse me.
I wonder if they're preparing for something for H1N1.
Yeah, well, it could be.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. But they're basically there for some sort of like breakdown of society and lawlessness. I think that in order for those camps to be activated, at least the legal part of it, if you actually read the laws that were passed around them, the legal part of it really dictates that they're for, restoring order, that kind of thing. But I don't think that the existence of these facilities means that one day we're going to wake up and, the stormtroopers are at the door just rounding people up. I think in order for them to be utilized, there's going to have to be a trigger event. But what that's telling me is that there may be a trigger event coming soon.
Right, okay. And I guess that's kind of, G on our chat was asking, you could explain the significance of these camps. And I think to me that kind of explains it, unless you want to go a little bit more into it.
Well, like I said, there's always a lot of discussion. It's happened during every president, for the last 20 years of, they're taking our guns and they're taking our ammo, they're taking our food and whatever. The reality of the situation is that I don't think, even though these camps do exist, I don't think that one day, there's just going to be this state of emergency and people like me are just going to get rounded up and shipped off in cattle cars to these places. I think what's going to happen is that they're really there for some sort of a trigger event, like a H1N1 outbreak of a mass proportion. And by the way, I learned some information that the CDC's been telling people about that, and it does look like they're preparing for something very, very large. They're looking at the number of flu deaths like quadrupling in the next year. But And that's pretty significant. I mean, the number's still relatively small compared to 300 million people, 100,000 or 200,000 people dying. But when it's on the news, it's going to kind of accelerate and exacerbate the problem.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I really do think that these things will be utilized and brought into operation on a trigger. There's going to be a trigger of some sort, whether it's a zombie apocalypse or H1N1 or aliens descend from the sky, whatever. That's when it'll happen.
And okay, now here GL is kind of elaborating just a little bit of what he was trying to get at with this question. I think, and a good question here. And I'll try to word it a little bit different here, but saying what is the big deal with them? He thinks that the camps are possibly a good thing, and obviously they're getting a bad rap. I mean, that's what you mainly see out there. I mean, they're called concentration camps,
yeah. Right.
So can you explain, okay, why are they getting this bad rap? Why are they possibly not considered a good thing?
Well, I mean, they're a good thing insofar as that they're part of contingency planning. And for your listeners, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, one of the other things that you should be looking up is continuity of government facilities. Go find out where those are. Because, it's our government, from the Cold War and for a lot of reasons, has a massive, contingency planning operation, and FEMA is a part of that. And so part of the contingency planning is to say, okay, well, in the event of some sort of a catastrophic problem, earthquake, typhoon, whatever, you're going to have facilities to house miscreants and people who don't agree with you and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So, it makes sense on a visceral level. I think the fact that the camps exist kind of bothers me, that they actually built them. I can understand that you've got all the cyclone fences and machine guns stored in a bunker next to where it should be, and when it goes down, it's like you send the Army Corps of Engineers out there to erect their 60-foot cyclone fence in 3 hours flat. Right. The fact that they exist does bother me, but continuity of government facilities exist too, and those are pretty scary in and of themselves. I think the reason that they've gotten a bad rap is that a lot of, and I'm not saying that it's not completely undeserved. I think the fact that they do exist, that they've been built, it really bothers me. And it does lend credence to some of the more wild conspiracy theories about what they're for. But what you find in the conspiracy community is that you have a lot of people of varying level of commitment to the conspiracy thought process. I think that I tend to be more mainstream about the whole thing, that I try to take it with a grain of salt. But there are people out there that are full bore, the government is, planted bugs in their cars, and even, they're a little more paranoid than, I'm pretty paranoid, but they're more paranoid than I am about it. So they see these things, and I don't think they necessarily try to understand what they're actually for, that they just launch off into a conspiracy theory about it. And then people grab onto that conspiracy theory because it makes sense to them, and they're worried about it, and they don't trust the government, which I don't either, and then they kind of go with it, and it's like a snowball.
Right. All right. Well,
I mean, think about UFO hoaxes, right? It's the same kind of thing. Mm-hmm. People are like, well, that's a UFO. Okay, well, there's the wire. They're like, no, that's a UFO. Then it just kind of accelerates. But I do think that it's troubling that they're actually built.
Right.
There's something wrong, and that tells me that there's some sort of contingency plan. The fact that they're there and they're built and they're ready tells me that there's some sort of contingency plan that's been activated, which does bother me. Something's coming.
Yeah. All right. Well, now, I'll send you the link to that map, and of course, Mel, hanging out in our chat room, has posted a couple links for those tuning in. So if you want to check those out,
email me.
Yeah. All right.
Please email me.
Now, the other thing I want to talk about is one of my favorite people. I just love this guy to death, and I'm kind of being a little bit sarcastic, but this is Glenn Beck. All right, I'm sure you know who. Yes, I know you know who Glenn Beck is. Now, and the reason why I want to bring Glenn Beck up is
you're going to get me in trouble tonight, aren't you?
I probably am. Is for a couple of reasons. Beyond the fact that this guy's just downright entertaining to watch. guys.
You could say that.
Yes, I say entertaining not in the way that I am glued to the television. I'm saying entertaining almost like you're watching a circus.
It is a circus.
Yes.
Fox, guys, before I get a lot of hate mail, look, Rupert Murdoch owns Fox. Rupert Murdoch is not interested in facts. He never has been. He never will be. Watch out, Fox. That's all you need to know. Yeah. Fox is a circus. Okay.
Yes. All right. But now the reason why I bring this up is I started thinking about something the other day. Is Glenn Beck was on this whole Van Jones kick for a long. I swear. What did he do? Like almost every show he done was about Van Jones.
Okay.
And then it ends up that finally Van Jones is more or less forced to resign as this czar, or whatever you want to call it, czar as Glenn Beck called him. But an advisor to the president that was appointed by the president had to go through no special process to get this position. All right, so now Van Jones is gone. What does Glenn Beck do? Now he's on Valerie Jarrett. Now, what do you, I mean, how do you interpret all of this? I mean, do you think Glenn Beck is more or less pushing this stuff to kind of happen with his, I don't know, wackiness?
Well, so for those of you who don't know my opinion about Glenn Beck, which is probably pretty much all of you, I think the guy's a nut. I think he's insane. I think he and O'Reilly function in a fact-free zone. I think that they don't... I can think of a lot of conspiracy theorists that have no basis in reality, that have more reality hovering around their worldview than those two. Beck's a nut. And he is pushing the Fox agenda, which is he's pushing Rupert Murdoch's agenda. And you guys should all go read a little bit about Rupert Murdoch. But he's pretty much trying to will it to happen. All those guys are. I mean, they're, every president, right, left, doesn't, I mean, there is no right or left, they're all owned. So, trying to bring them down doesn't really achieve anything, because you can't, and it doesn't matter anyway. But it's like the Tea Party thing, I'm all for the kind of concept of it, but those weren't real people standing up and saying, okay, I don't agree with this. It's like it was created as a self-fulfilling prophecy to further the objective of Fox. And I think that if you are a constitutionalist, if you're a proud American, whatever, you don't agree with Obama and what he's doing, whatever, but you should do it because you think it, not because Rupert Murdoch told you to think it. And I think that a lot of the things that you see on Fox News come out of Rupert Murdoch's mind. He just he's an entertainer, and he's creating entertainment news, and that's what Fox News is. And like I said, I'm a conspiracy theorist, everybody. Boys and girls, I do not trust the government any farther than I can throw it. I am paranoid, I think they're watching me, all that, I want to get actually I was talking to one of the guys that I work with about building a Faraday cage so they can't listen to me,
Right.
But when I watch Fox News, that's just pure unadulterated BS. I mean, a lot of the things that they're talking about, they'll take something completely mundane, which is like Obama flies to Copenhagen to try to get the Olympics in Chicago, right? Does anybody really care about this? Probably not. Every other president, right, left, blue, green, doesn't matter. They go down to Camp David for 3 months and hang out, or they go down to they're clearing brush in their ranch, or they're picking peanuts at their farm or whatever, and nobody cares. But, Fox has kind of zeroed in on this disaffected anti-political group of people, of which I'm a member, and antagonizes them and pisses them off and makes them angry about everything. So suddenly, Obama wasting some jet fuel to go from Washington to Copenhagen and back in like 3 days to try to bring something that could be economically stimulating to Chicago is suddenly the most evil thing that ever happened.
All right.
You know, it's like, let's forget about, all the stuff that every other president ever did that, is much worse. Obama went to front for Chicago. It's like, everybody, hey, send me the hate mail. I'm okay with it. Our economy is trashed, and yes, I do think that it was a program trashing for a lot of reasons. I can go back to a wonderful interview that was done on this very show that solidified my belief that this was a calculated collapse. But needless to say, the economy is kind of trashed, and we're all feeling it, and whoever did it, it happened. And he's, fronting to try to get the Olympics to come there so that they can, have a lot of things and revenue into the city and, whatever, building stuff and marketing stuff and making stuff. Give him a break. I don't see what the big deal is. Well, and honest, he's a nut.
Well, and that's what's funny, because that's where it all started, was him talking about this flight to Copenhagen. That there was two flights, that Michelle Obama went first and he went, and it all turned into Valerie Jarrett.
Yeah, because Valerie Jarrett they apparently pressured Valerie Jarrett to push Obama to go. And Obama, to his credit, was like, I don't know, is it really worthwhile? If it's not worthwhile, I've got other stuff to do. I don't really need to be doing this. They told him that it would help him. It was on the edge, whatever. So he did it. And you know what? Something else to point out to everybody is that, Brazil sent their president. The president of Brazil went. Dignitaries from Tokyo. I don't think the prime minister of Japan went, but dignitaries from Japan went. I mean, this is not the kind of deal where sending the president is a little strange. I mean, presidents of countries routinely go to lobby to the IOC to get the Olympics in their country. I mean, this is not abnormal. This is, like I said, the president of Brazil was there to try to get Brazil, which I guess won it, to be the next one. So Obama going is only suddenly a big deal to Fox News, but to the rest of the world, they always looked at us like, well, why isn't your president going to front for you?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And like when he cries on the air, it's like, dude, what are you doing? I have to say, I love Stephen Colbert. I am part of the Colbert Nation. And just watching Colbert tear that guy down, it just makes me happy.
I know him and
I know he's got a lot of fans. I'm going to get some hate mail for this, but everybody, if you want to watch a news station where it's not 100% the truth, but it's a little closer, it's like watch the BBC. They're going to tell you fairly honestly what's going on. It's like Fox News is not telling. I'm not saying the CNN is telling you the truth either. The CNN's got its own slant, but Fox News doesn't have a slant. They're just out in orbit somewhere. And Hannity is now doing a whole series of things about conspiracies, like on his show. Mm-hmm. He had a whole segment about the Princess Di conspiracy. I don't think he went as far as he could have with it, but he had a whole thing about landing. I think he did a thing about landing on the moon. I have up on the site a whole thing he did about UFOs. It's like, those guys are all over the place, and they will state things that are factually incorrect. It's not like nebulous, like, well, we're not sure. It's like straight up wrong,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about, Glenn Beck's show is that it seems to be it's entertaining. It seems to be all about conspiracies, and he really just my God, he's all over the place. Like I say, he turns the flight up to Copenhagen into that all this has to do with the influence of Valerie Jarrett, which was a connection to Van Jones, a connection to communism. It went on, and he had his little magnetic chalkboard up there posting pictures, and it was funny.
Sure. Oh yeah, and it's like the healthcare thing, right? I don't care where you stand on it; it doesn't matter. But factually, here's the deal: like 75 or 76% of the population wants universal health care.
Right.
Because you and me and every other working schmuck out there, we look at our paycheck every 2 weeks, and we look at this huge number at the bottom. It's like, that's how much I paid for crappy health care, right? And so most working people are like, man, if I could make that little number decrease, that would be great. And you know what? I do want control and whatever. And they're talking to their representatives saying, you know, healthcare needs to be fixed. It's broken, you know, whatever. But then suddenly Fox News, it's like communism in America, you know? Yeah. It's like, where do they get this crap? And talking about socialism, look, guys, here's the deal. Medicare is socialist. The Veterans Administration is kind of socialist, if you want to approach it from that point of view. You know, all you guys out there who are on Social Security, like SSI, that's socialist, everybody, if that's what the game we're playing.
Yeah. Now, someone in the chat room was saying, you know, that the truth is sprinkled in with Glenn Beck's show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the truth is always sprinkled in of everywhere. Mm-hmm. See, that's disinformation, classical disinformation, and which, you know, any news orifice that you're going to get news from in the world is pretty much going to give you some level of disinformation. They're going to tell you what somebody told them to tell you, right? We saw it with 9/11. We saw it with numerous things, Panama. I mean, you can look at all the different Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. It's always sugared in there is a little bit of truth. And the way that disinformation works is that you wrap a little bit of BS around a kernel of truth, and then you give it to the populace, and you let the populace expand the BS. But the core, there's a little bit of truth in there somewhere, but it's very hard to figure out what the truth is. So the way that you figure out what the truth is that you hear the BS and you go, man, that sounds like BS, and then you go and do your own research. Mm-hmm. You know me. I'm very big about that. If you think something's going on, you go out there, you do the footwork, and you figure out what's going on. Don't ever rely on anybody, me included, to tell you what's going on. I'll tell you what I think, and what I think is what I really do think. I'm not owned by anybody. I haven't written a book. I'm not selling a movie, you know, and I did that intentionally. I can write a book. I can make a movie. I thought about it, but, you know, I'm a lot more objective because I'm not pitching something.
Right.
I'm not paid to do this. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. Now, and I have to say, you know, one thing about, you know, I think that really for me with the Glenn Beck show is he seems, you know, overly dramatic about everything. Like I said, with his crying. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Right. But, you know, it all goes back to the conspiracy theories and disinformation. Anything that's coming out of Fox all goes back to Rupert Murdoch. This guy, I'm telling you, if the Illuminati is real, and yes, I think they're real, Rupert Murdoch is a member. Not only is he a member, he's like somebody powerful within it. Okay? And Rupert Murdoch he's bloodthirsty. He doesn't care what he does to anybody as long as it furthers his objectives. Right. And he's always been that way. He shredded newspapers, he shredded TV stations, he shredded anything he has to shred to get where he wants to be. And he doesn't care if it's real or not real. If it gets ratings, puts money in his pocket, that's all he cares about. He's a very Machiavellian guy. Mm. If you don't believe me, go do some research on Rupert Murdoch. Go watch Outfoxed.
Right. All right.
It will. Yeah.
I just had to bring that up. I just had to.
Oh, I know. I was waiting for it someday. You know, Glenn Beck is a nut. You can quote me. They're all nuts. Fox and Friends, come on. Get this crap.
Oh, but you know,
when you make a conspiracy nut blush, you really got problems.
But, I mean, I can't lie and say that I don't enjoy watching him because it is entertaining.
Oh, it's funny.
It definitely is, but.
Okay, so how is the chat room doing? Are they swirling about how I'm a communist yet?
No, not yet. They're actually going back and forth about Glenn Beck. So
I'm sure there are people that like him, and you know that's okay. But definitely, everybody who can hear the sound of my voice, go do some research. Find out about Rupert Murdoch, because Glenn Beck is not going to say anything that Rupert Murdoch didn't authorize. Mm-hmm. So. You gotta go to the very top of the pyramid, and that's Rupert Murdoch. And if there's an Illuminati, man, that guy, he's in it. I'm telling you.
Well, with Glenn Beck's show, he just does some unusual things. Like, wasn't there one show where, like, the entire time he had a close-up on his eye?
Yes.
I mean, what was that all about?
You can tell I'm telling the truth. Look into my eye. Zoom in.
Yeah, and like the whole time he spoke, there's this huge close-up on his eye, and it was like, oh my, you couldn't stand to watch it.
And you know what? And it's like he's sobbing, going, I love America. I would do anything for America. It's like, okay, Glenn, here's an M16. Why don't you go let one of those poor bastards in Iraq come home?
Yeah.
He won't do that.
No, he won't. But yeah, it's just, I
have been there for 4 rotations. I mean, this is very wrong.
Well, there we go. Enough on Glenn Beck. Like I said, just had to bring that up because
that's going to get me in trouble.
Oh, you'll be all right.
All right. I'm not selling any books, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. Somebody will get some emails. What's your email address, Olav? No, I'm just kidding.
olav@anomaalies.net.
All right. Well, I tell you
what. Believe what I say.
Well,
I stand up for it.
Well, I agree. We're at the break time, and what we're going to do when we come back, we're going to get into this whole comment that Buzz Aldrin made about a monolith on the Phobos, one of Mars's moons, because this is interesting, and we're going to talk about exactly why it's important, because it was coming from Buzz Aldrin. So we're going to get into that after the break. You are listening to Shadows in the Dark, broadcasting live at shadowsinthedarkradio.com and Dark Plains Radio at darkplainsradio.com. The show can also be heard as a rebroadcast at ParaX at para-x.com and available as a podcast at Black Vault Radio at blackvaultradio.com and Planet Paranormal at planetparanormal.com.
Have you been wondering what gift to get that special person in your life? Then you need to visit Mountain View Candle Works, your one-stop headquarters for candles, fountains, specialty foods, and much more. Just visit www.mountainviewcandleworks.com. We make your candles with mountain care.
More than just another New Age journal, Mysteries Magazine provides a thought-provoking, in-depth look into myths, magic, and the paranormal, as well as the mysteries which have intrigued both historians and scientists from the beginning of time. So subscribe today by visiting www.mysteriesmagazine.com or pick up a copy at select newsstands throughout the U.S. and Canada. Again, that was www.mysteriesmagazine.com. Challenge your beliefs.
Are you wondering if the path that you've chosen is the right one for you? Or would you like to see a glimpse of what the future may hold? Tarot may be able to help you understand better the path that you're on. The cards don't lie, nor do they lead you astray, as they're a vehicle for messages from God, angels, and guides. Have your cards read for you by world-renowned tarot card master Scotty Roberts. To schedule a private reading with Scotty, visit www.tarotbyscotty.com today and find out what the cards may hold for you.
Hello everybody, this is Mr. G from the World Paranormal Society and from Haunt the Hunters on DarkPlainsRadio.com. I would like to tell you about a website. It's called TreasureForAllUSA.com, where I got everything from knickknacks to complete DVR systems. A place where you can shop for everything and everything, and if we don't have it, I'll find it for you. That's again, TreasureForAllUSA.com, everything from DVR systems, TV sets, knickknacks, and gifts for loved ones. Come check it out, TreasureForAllUSA.com. You won't be disappointed.
Door slams, cold spots, voices, and footsteps. The paranormal make their presence known.
Hi, I'm Tim Yancey, inviting you to Lightstream's Paranormal Investigators Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, November 6th, 7th and 8th. The latest technology tools from professional investigators, audio, video, background research, and electromagnetic testing. The lineup of paranormal investigators and lecturers is unparalleled, featuring Keith Age, host of Spooked on the Sci-Fi Channel. Evidence analyzation experts from Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters, TAPS team members Steve Gonzalez, Dave Tango, and Tiffany Johnson. Court TV and True TV's Haunting Evidence, Patrick Burns, with audio filtering techniques for the faintest EVP recording. Carmen Reed, the basis for the new movie Haunting in Connecticut. Trish and I will be there as well from Encounters Paranormal Radio, speaking on violent haunting. Other speakers, vendors, and more will be there as well, including 2 real ghost hunts, led by investigators Dave Tango and Steve Gonzalez. Lightstream's Paranormal Investigators Convention, the premier event for professional investigators. Limited tickets available now on the web at ls-pic.org.
Well, tonight we are talking with Olav Phillips, and we're going to get into this comment that Buzz Aldrin made about a monolith on Phobos, one of the moons, or the moon of Mars. But before we do that, I know we had someone who wanted to call in the chat room there, and if anybody else does, we're going to give out the call-in number, which is 877-876-7797. And yes, I do not know how in the world I got a toll-free number with so many sevens. But anyway, that number again is 877-876-7797. So if you wish to call in, that is the number to do so. And so we'll I know somebody in the chat room was going to call in, so we'll let them, and there it is, right on cue. How about that?
I'm in trouble.
Yeah. All right, I believe this is Don. Am I correct?
Yes, it is. Hello, Jeremiah. How are you?
I am fine. How are you, Don?
Doing okay. I have been studying up, and I'm ready for another throwdown.
Yeah, you better study, because you know what? Denise just tore you apart.
Oh, my gosh. I felt like a Christmas turkey.
Well, Don, do you have a question or comment for Olav?
Yeah, I do. First of all, Olav, thanks a lot for being on tonight. I really appreciate some of the things that you had to say, and I was asking the questions about the camps that you were talking about. The FEMA camps, and I just wanted to say thanks very much. Like, I, for a level of me, was just kind of like, well, isn't this just like saving up for a rainy day? But it kind of, I see your point where you can kind of see, hey, wait a minute, is this a precursor to something that's going on that they know about that we don't know about?
Yeah, you know, in my estimation, I mean, like I said, you can take it for what it's worth. I try to be pretty grounded about the conspiracy stuff, which I think sets me a little bit apart from others. And, you know, FEMA's not necessarily a bad organization. I mean, the intent is nice, right? They screw up a lot, like in New Orleans, and they're human, and they're just people. You know, I sat next to a FEMA guy on an airplane from Vegas once, and, you know, I'm telling him, the conspiracy. He's like, oh, man, you guys, you know, ragging us all day long. And he's a nice guy, but generally the way contingency planning works is that they'll have a bunch of stuff queued up and ready to go, right? And they can throw up a small city in a matter of days. I mean, you know, so the fact that they're built tells me something's going to happen. Now, where I diverge from conventional conspiracy belief is a lot of people are like, well, you know, the stormtroopers of the New World Order are going to march down, you know, they're going to bring up guys from Mexico and down from Canada to invade us and all this. And I'm not saying that won't happen. I mean, there's a precedent where they could bring in UN troops and subjugate us. But what it really tells me is that they're planning for something to come. They're planning on something happening, and that whatever is going to be happening is going to result in some sort of catastrophic social breakdown, whether it's riots or there are large numbers of people sick that they're trying to quarantine. So it's disturbing that they're planning for something, obviously, or they wouldn't have built them. Because the government, for whatever we believe about them, is actually somewhat efficient about certain things. And they don't just build these things for the hell of it. There's an intent. And this is not being built for the next nuclear war. These are fairly fresh within the last couple of years. And I'm wondering if maybe it's not something to do with H1N1, because, I mean, the numbers that they're talking about are, the Spanish flu killed like 20 million people, in the world. So maybe they're planning for that again. Maybe it's going to be a concentration camp for infected people. Maybe it's a zombie apocalypse, I don't know.
Right, but if I may, at the same time, the government, I'm trying not to be silly about this, but you know that there are guys in the CIA or in the military that actually have contingency plans of what if France invades the United States. Like, there are people that are paid war gamers that sit around coming up with this stuff all day. What if Canada invades? What if the volcanoes awaken in Hawaii? So that's kind of, to me, like what I chalked all this up as is just like, it's much the same way as like having car insurance or a savings account. I mean, this is just happening on a bigger scale. So
no, I see your point, and actually I forget where it was, but there was I think it was a university. I'll have to dig it up and give it to Jeremiah so he can put the URL up. But there was a news article about I think it was a university that had published their contingency plans for this or that. And they actually had a contingency plan for a zombie apocalypse, like the undead literally like walking the earth kind of thing. So yeah, no, you're right. I mean, they do plan for all sorts of stuff, but they're basically prison camps. That is what they are, and last year is when they funded it. So, normally I would agree with you and think, well, these things are just going to be rusting. Like, we've got part of their contingency planning is they have these strategic reserve fleets that are like around the U.S. There's one, I think, in Norfolk. And then we have one in Benicia, and it's just a bunch of boats that are like rusting and falling apart. But if there's a war, they can paint them beige and put people on them and send them somewhere. But they're like rusting and falling apart. And part of me is like, well, maybe they're just going to do that, and I can see these like chain-link fence like rusting, and these like burned out cars like sitting there, and bullet holes in the signs because hunters are like, oh, look at this, but they funded this within the last year and a half, so there's something kooky going on here. So I don't think it's completely just I'm planning for something in the far distant future. I think they're planning for something pretty soon. I don't think it's like an invasion of the New World Order. I don't think the New World Order works that way. I know I'm not popular for that opinion, but these guys, they're kind of beyond all that. I don't think they function that way. They don't need stormtroopers.
Right.
So I think that there's something else at work here.
Right. Listen, one other thing, if I may say, just to completely kind of change the subjects around, jumping into the Glenn Beck. Let me tell you, first of all, with all due respect to the sweet Bambi in the chat room, I'm not a Fox News fan, and I happen to think Bill Riley is two-faced. I've known people that have worked with him, and they have nothing but mean things to say about the guy. As for me personally, the jury's still out with Glenn Beck. But let me also just say, I've been to a bunch of these tea parties, and frankly, I took serious exception with you calling them a bunch of Fox News dupes, because I read a lot on the issues, and the thing that's frightening me is the fact that we've just increased our national deficit by literally $1 trillion, more than every other president combined, and this guy's only been in office not even a full year. Add to the fact that I'm very concerned about Medicare. A really good friend of mine was saying that he could care less about politics, but he got incredibly frightened when they started talking about Medicare. You were saying that how trying to do for universal health care, you were saying that like 75% of the country wants it. I've heard other things where over 54% of the country do not want it, and to be honest with you, Canada has been going the other direction, and they've had universal health care, and they're all of a sudden going, oh crap, what are we into? And the fact of the matter is, when you started referring to us as a bunch of dupes, let me tell you, I showed up there. Those people were there because they're frightened for this country, and they weren't these Glenn Beck sycophants. They were there because they're really scared about the direction that it's going, and these are people that read up on it. I mean, here's the thing, real quick. The congressman who's on part of some committee, the cap and trade bill, says, "I'm not going to read it. It's too big and too complicated. Yet I'm going to pass it."
Unfortunately, that's like every congressman in the Congress. None of them give a rat's ass about anything that you want. All those people are completely and utterly paid off, left, right, and center. Now, I understand where you're coming from, and the comment was maybe poorly worded. The truth of the matter is that the Tea Parties, the people that went to them, believe 110 and 120% in what they're doing, and yourself included. These are people who love their country. These are people who are concerned about the Constitution. They don't necessarily agree with the direction that the country's going. We could have a whole show about, is universal health care good or bad? But the way Fox News, the way that they publicized it, the way that they promoted it, they were behind it. And they were disingenuous, not you, and not the people who went. I have a great deal of respect for you because you actually went and fought for something you believed in. Whether I agree with you or not, you did what most people won't do and actually did something about it. And that's being an American. But the Fox News as an entity organized it, they backed it, and then they fronted it like there's some sort of popular uprising. And there
actually,
is. I mean, there are a lot of people. Hold on, there are a lot of people.
It was a guy from CNBC that inspired it. It was a guy from CNBC that said we need another Tea Party to take back our country, and then all of a sudden a bunch of people said, hey, this is a great idea. And more or less what happened was Fox jumped on the coattails of the whole thing, and then when you look at their ratings on a regular basis, they're kicking the hell out of CNN and kicking the hell out of MSNBC on a nightly basis.
But the truth of the matter is that they're kicking the hell out of them, and about probably 80% of what they're saying is horse shit. And I'm sorry I used the S word. I know, Jeremiah, I'm going to get in trouble.
But I was going to say, let's watch some of the language.
But it's BS. I mean, look, one of the things.
But the fact of the matter is that it's Listen, the fact of the matter is that it's BS that is selling. And to be honest with you, I don't think 80% of it is BS. And what you're doing is that by you saying that BS, you're saying that millions of Americans that watch that channel are duped and BSers. And from that point of view, I got to tell you, I'm taking a serious exception for that.
No,
I mean, you're.
Look, here's the deal. This is the truth. Hold on. You want it cold? Here's the truth. There are 305 million people in the U.S., okay? Probably 280 of them, including children, are completely duped by the media industrial complex as a whole. Whether you're watching Fox, you're watching CNN, you're watching MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC, the CW, it doesn't matter. They're all programming it. Look, I came on this very show, 6 months ago, and I talked about how ABC was putting in subliminal messages into their TV shows. Now, I'm not the kind of person that's going, yeah, they're putting in subliminal messages. No, I caught the subliminal messages and I put them up. Whether you're watching Fox, whether you're watching CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, whatever, okay? They're all programming you. We're all duped, me included. It doesn't matter. See, that's the insidious nature of what these multinational corporations are doing. By the way, and I love capitalism as much as everybody else. But by the way, did you know that my son is yelling at me. Did you know that a corporation has the same rights that you do? That's insane. That makes no sense. Okay? These guys are all programming all of it. Not just Fox. And I understand why you take exception to it. If I were you, I would take exception too. Because I'm attacking something that you believe in. I'm attacking something that you watch, and they're presenting your point of view. And I understand that. But what I'm trying to tell you is that it's all BS. There is very little honest programming that's coming out on TV. In fact, I have a big TV myself. I enjoy watching TV, but the truth of the matter is that you should go home and turn it off, right? Because you're not going to get anything truthful out of the box. If you want the truth, you go find it, which you obviously do. The truth that you've discovered is what you believe in because you found it, and that's my whole point. Don't ever believe anything that anybody tells you, me included.
Now, let me break in here 1 second, guys, because somebody was trying to call in. I just want to let them know we can only have one caller at a time.
Well, in that case, Jeremiah, I've taken my 5 minutes. Olav, thank you for your time, but just please be careful not to call us dupes or idiots or anything. Jeremiah, as always, a great show. Thank you again for everybody.
See, you're getting me in trouble, Jeremiah. See, I've got a bunch of people. Now I'm going to be vilified because, okay. But that's my opinion. It's all BS. It doesn't matter where you're watching it. They're all programmed by a multinational corporation. None of them care anything about you. And Glenn Beck goes home, cashes his $1 million paycheck. You're the last thought on his mind.
Now, for that caller who just tried to call in, if you want to try back, please do.
I love all your listeners.
Well, we know you do, and that's
I don't know. I just got the smackdown.
I think Don is still a little upset about the paranormal throwdown, but
no, he made a good point, and I should have clarified it more. You're not nuts. You're not dupes. We're all dupes. Everybody's a dupe.
Right.
Me too.
All right, now again, the caller who just tried to call in.
Call back, come on.
If you want to call back, please do. Like I said, we can only what
I
happened.
know it's about Fox News. I get so in the conspiracy continuum, like Fox News, a lot of people who are into this kind of stuff, they're big fans of it. So if you do anything that kind of it's very unpopular. That's why I told you I'm going to make some people unhappy, and I'm sorry. I love you all. I respect all the listeners.
Well,
Rupert Murdoch is a bastard, and he doesn't care about anybody but Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, here we go. So, all right, caller from 386. So, what's your name and where are you from?
Hello, Gary Frick.
Hey, Gary, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing good. So, you got a question for Olav, or you want to smack him around a little bit? Either way.
Actually, this is a supportive interactive call. I haven't come to. No stones will be thrown here.
I want to say one thing, Dr. Frick, before you start. I'm not going to speak for anybody else who's listening to this show, but I can tell everybody categorically that I, for one, was actually covered under universal health care through the NHS in England, and I loved it. Okay, go on.
Actually, now that you brought it up, and I am a doctor, I know this isn't a political show, but I will say one of the things that the doctors I know fear the most is that we'll get the worst of everything. We'll get the worst elements of a universal health care plus the worst elements of what we have now. You see what I mean? That's the big fear. So it's not like we're a lot of us, it's not like we're just against one thing or that. We just want the whole package to work, and
they do a miserable job of implementation. And what we've got now is it's not universal. It's not universal. It's like some weird hybrid, and they're going to screw it up. Anyway. I'll stay out of the politics. You had a comment.
Yes. Well, Yeah. We were talking about news shows before. Now I just want to clarify something because this was mentioned in the chat room. You weren't just picking. You weren't just talking about Fox News and conservatives, or you were talking pretty much about the modern the media as it is, right?
That's correct. Absolutely. It's when I come on this show, everybody, I'm not for the right or for the left. As far as I'm concerned, they're all out to screw you. And Jerry Smith, who's been on the show, he's an excellent writer. He summed it up best. He said, the cup is neither half full or half empty. It's just dirty, and that's what we've got today. So,
well, I mean, I'd say common sense tells me that essentially a lot of the same people who control one network really control the other. The people that pull the strings in this culture are the ones with the money, and I guess I'm getting in the realm of conspiracy theory now. But here's a question for you: how much media do you recommend that people watch, or how often do you recommend we read the newspaper, that sort of thing?
Well, I think what people need to do in general, like me personally, I have one 30-minute news show I watch every day, and I watch it mostly for the weather. And I think that they have a great thing called the Big Question, where one of the anchors goes out and answers like, why are there, is there actually a concrete museum, which apparently there is in Berkeley? So it's like kind of fun questions. Or I'll watch it for like local news, what's going on in my local area. I personally don't watch CNN, MSNBC, CNBC very lightly, only if Buzz Aldrin is going on to look like a loon. And Fox News, if there's something going on, I try to watch none of it because I don't think any of it is true. The newspapers, I think, are a lot better, but they all have a slant too. Whether you read the New Republic or you read whatever, Time Magazine. Everybody's like Time Magazine. It's this iconic magazine. One time the man of the year was Hitler. So, it's all programmed. It's all contingent upon what this group of people, call them the elevated masters, the Illuminati, the master architect, whatever. It's all what they want you to think. So they twist and contrive and create news.
Well, how do you feel about the fact that Adolf Hitler was man of the year? The way I justify it is perhaps they were saying he was the most powerful man, not necessarily a good man.
Yeah, but in doing something like that, you're elevating him, and you're giving him some level of legitimacy. You understand what I'm trying to get at? It's that old thing where if there's no such thing as like bad PR, because like if I say something that's bad about you, right, and then you come back and you sue me, well, I get some PR because you're suing me. It's just you're legitimizing him by putting him on there. Where I don't think that a monster of that magnitude, at the time they probably didn't know the full ramifications of what a monster he was, but still, you don't need to legitimize him. His theory was well known in the 30s. You don't need to legitimize that kind of a monster. It's my own personal opinion, but I just don't think it's necessary.
I guess the question there is then, where do you draw the line? I mean, you can't just not mention him either.
That's true. It's hard, but my bigger point is not so much. It's not so much that he was on there. It's more that there's this in every newspaper, every TV station, every TV network. There's a little room of a couple of people, not more than say 5 or 7. They sit around and they decide what you're about to think. And I feel uncomfortable with that. I think it's wrong. I think that that you need as a thinking person, whether you're to the right or to the left or in the middle or whatever. I think that you need to go out and you need to look at all the news sources, whether they're CNN or Fox or the BBC or the press agency from France or whatever. I think you need to look at all of it and kind of understand it and do some research and think about it. I don't think you can ever look at any news source as a sole source of your information, because they're all skewed. And only by looking at, let's say that I see something on CNN that I find is interesting and not entertainment news, right? I'm going to say, okay, this is what's going on according to CNN. Then personally, I go to the BBC, I can say, okay, this is what the BBC thinks. Then I may go to CNN or CNBC and go, okay, well, that's what they think. I look at all 3 or 4 or 5 to cross-reference them to decide what I think. Mm-hmm. The problem in modern media is that 90% of the population, I'm just throwing a number out there, everybody, before you beat me up, but a large percentage of the population, over 50%, I'm pretty certain, goes to a media source and just believes whatever they're told, and that's indoctrination. And it's, you're a doctor. I mean, you know that better than anybody. If you sit down in front of the TV, you become absorbed by the TV. A large part of your thinking, I believe you're a psychiatrist as well, right?
Yeah.
A large part of your cognitive function shuts down when you're watching TV. It's like there's a beam going straight into your head, and it's doing all the thinking for you. My parents, they used to do it. They had a joke for when I was a kid, and it's the 80s. Everybody watched TV, right? I grew up on TV too.
Oh, in the 80s. Oh, God. And everybody watched the same stations. People today have no idea what that was like.
Oh, I know. But
it was only like 3 networks. Yeah.
My parents always had a joke that they would play on me. And, I was a kid. And, a kid always needs money to go to the movies or to buy I love comic books or whatever. So I'd be watching TV. Watching it, and my parents would walk in the room and go, okay, if you come over here, I'll give you $20. Now, I'm a kid. If I heard somebody say, come over here and I'll give you $20, I would be there at a heartbeat saying, give me my $20. I swear to God, I never even heard them, and they did it again and again and again. I've done it with my own son when he's watching Noggin. I'll say, my son, Tristan, would you like a candy bar? Something that he would just run at, or cookie, or something that he would like. Completely zoned out, doesn't see anything but the TV. That's why we don't want him watch very much TV. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. It's like if you're watching Fox or CNN or whatever, you're getting the same thing. I think you just need to take it in very short things. I think just, me personally, I just watch a news clip off the website. That does it for me, But I also
I totally follow what you're saying. I've been doing things that way for years, so I almost take it for granted that that's the right thing to do. But yeah, if you just have one news source, that to me, what, I do want to say something on your behalf here. Oh, the point you made before. Somebody mentioned in the chat room that in 1938, Time magazine was describing Hitler as for better or for worse, so they didn't even really have an opinion on him yet, and yet they had him on the cover as Man of the Year. So that supports a point that you were making before.
Because 5 people sat in a room and they said, well, who's going to be the Man of the Year? Should it be Roosevelt, Hitler, the Pope, Satan, whatever? They made a conscious decision to make it Hitler. And they didn't have a great reason, good or bad or right or wrong. They just made it because, as Time puts it about their Man of the Year, they just say, well, he's a prominent figure. Yeah, he's a prominent figure that you're about to put in front. In 1938, you're putting it in front of, millions of people. And if memory serves, that was around the same time of the Olympics, when they had the whole, his whole thing about they didn't want to let our athletes in there because, they're African American. It's like, look, everybody knew what he was thinking. And there's a lot of evidence that we knew from inception what the plan was. They knew what he did, where he was going. His race theories and some of the other things, the eugenics programs. I mean, he was running them at full bore by 39 and 38. So
then why would there be any doubt on Time Magazine's part? That is a scary thought.
Right, but you have to see the context, right? At that same time, you had was it King George V? I forget which one it was that abdicated the throne for Wallace Simpson, the American who's divorced. He's going to meet with Hitler. He was basically a Nazi. In fact, in the there's a thing called the Information ZGB, which was made by the Einsatzgruppen. I can go into detail about that some other time. They're basically like a political terror squad, right? And the plan is that I find this part amusing. The Nazis were definitely afraid of the Freemasons, right? And so one of the things that the Einsatzgruppen would do, they had a contingency plan for invading England, and one of the first things they would do is they were going to round up all the Freemasons and basically kill them. They were going to assassinate all these key people. Then they were going to take I think it was King George. They were going to take him out of seclusion with his American divorcee wife, promote him to King of England, killing off most of the royal family that existed at that time, and install him in the throne in Balmoral in Scotland to be the Nazi authorized leader of England, and then they were going to split off London south to the coast to become like protectorate, or to become part of Germany, and then the rest of it was going to be a quote unquote protectorate of the Reich. So, and at the same time you got George Bush's grandfather, money laundering for the Nazis, and the bank that he worked for got shut down. He was brought up on in the 40s. He was brought up on charges for like collaborating with the enemy. This is George Bush's grandfather. So
Prescott Bush.
Right. Yeah, Prescott Bush. So, these things are done because there's a little group of people somewhere in a dark room, a smoky dark room, that make these decisions on your behalf. And let me be perfectly clear. It's every network. It's not just Fox or CNN or MSNBC or PBS or anybody. It's all of them. They all tell you somebody somewhere has made a decision of what you're interested in. And the insidious part is that they make you think, whether you're progressive or liberal or conservative, or you're into family values or you're not, or whatever you're into, they make you believe that the idea was yours. And they do it again and again and again. It's a core principle of psychological warfare. Well, winning the hearts and minds, everybody.
Well, Gary,
by the way, could I just ask one? Well, they mentioned something in the chat room about Buzz Aldrin. Yes. And anyway, I was gonna ask you to define concentration camps and how it could be anything but horrible if it's a concentration camp. You know what I mean?
I don't think it can be anything but horrible. Whether they're putting people in there because they're infected, they're putting people in there because they don't agree with the government, they're putting people in there because their skin is the wrong color, they're part of the wrong religion. It doesn't matter. See,
and one last question.
The Germans.
I was going to ask you.
People in there, whatever. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, how confident are you that this is happening, and what makes you come to that conclusion?
Well, I've seen the stories have existed, as far as I know, since the mid-'80s. I've seen pictures of them. People that I trust have told me that they're true. I've read quite a number of accounts of them where people have seen them. But, this is a situation where me personally, I always tell the listeners of this show, and anybody who reads my stuff, don't trust me, go find out for yourself. There's an overwhelming abundance of evidence to me that there's some sort of a camp that's got nothing good in mind. Large cyclone fences, concertina wire, and they're designed not get out of or into. But again, like I always tell everybody, don't listen to me. Go look it up. I'm not here to tell anybody what to think. And Jeremiah,
thank you very much, Olav.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you for calling. but back me up. I say that every time I'm on, don't I?
Yeah, you do. I definitely agree. And now, of course, tonight's topic is Buzz Aldrin. Is that?
I think so.
And by the way, you always ask for callers, and you got them.
Yeah. Well, I pissed off some people. I'm very sorry. I do apologize. Please,
all right.
Please listen to the show. I love you all.
Now, one thing before we move to Buzz Aldrin. Really quick, which now Night Owl has left the chat room, but we were going to have a little fun. We have the Paranormal Throwdown on here, which Night Owl won our last one, and that would be, do you know, this was a question that nobody got, do you know the name of the host of River Monsters?
River Monsters? I've never even heard of it.
You have great show. You should watch it. It is Jeremy Wade. Jeremy Wade. Of course, they were saying his name is also, he goes by Chum. But a little joke.
There you go.
Yeah, but great show. You should catch it sometime. But anyway,
I will definitely catch it.
All right, Buzz Aldrin. Yes, that is the topic of tonight's show, is Buzz Aldrin.
We should have just started with Buzz Aldrin and left it at Buzz Aldrin, okay?
Yes, I
lost like half your listeners. They're all lining up to shoot me.
Yeah, I had to...
Now tell me, before we actually do Buzz Aldrin, I want to know from the people in the chat room, people who were upset by what I said, do you understand what I mean now? Have I made it abundantly clear?
Well, we'll see what they say there. But I had to bring up Glenn back, didn't I? But anyway, let's get in this Buzz Aldrin comment, because we don't have a whole lot of time left. But Buzz Aldrin on C-SPAN.
On CNBC? Or C-SPAN, yeah.
Yes, on C-SPAN, made a comment that there was a monolith on the moon of Mars. Now, he called it a little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars, blah, blah, blah.
Every 90 minutes or something.
Right. So now, let's look at this, because, we're, this is starting to, we're definitely adding to the face on Mars kind of situation here. So,
Absolutely.
And when you watch this, and I encourage everybody who is tuning in, or if you're catching this in archives, go to YouTube and just do a search on Buzz Aldrin monolith or something along those lines. Yeah, and
it's on the site as well.
Oh, okay. You have it on your site, anomalies.net. And watch him actually say this, because it he gets excited, and that's kind of where some of this is drawing from, is the excitement he had in not just the comment itself, which enough is interesting, but
sure.
But let's look at, this came from Buzz Aldrin. Why is this important that it come from Buzz Aldrin and not Olav Phillips?
Well, so for the 5 people who are left listening, since I've alienated everybody, basically because Buzz Aldrin doesn't do this. He actually, what's the guy's name? It escapes me now. He made When Astronauts Gone Wild based on this. Something funny happened on the way to the moon. Buzz Aldrin actually punched this guy. The guy had walked up to Buzz Aldrin and said, "Buzz Aldrin, did you really land on the moon?" And Buzz Aldrin got so infuriated that he actually punched him, and there was a whole lawsuit and everything. Buzz Aldrin has emphatically denied for decades that he saw a UFO. He had come out and said, "Yes, I saw a UFO when I was in the capsule orbiting the Earth." And then now he claims he was misquoted. People misunderstood what he said. Yada, yada, yada. Now you have Buzz Aldrin, who's no longer an alcoholic on his 4th marriage, is now telling us, no, really, there really is a monolith on the moon, or on a moon of Mars, probably Phobos. It was put there by God, the universe, whatever you want to think. People need to check it out. And he was very excited, very engaged. He leaned forward. He was very interested in it. Apparently, there's a picture of it in the book. Mm-hmm. The guy who was interviewing him was somewhat stunned by the comment, and he he had picked up Magnificent Desolation and said, "Is this the picture?" And Buzz Aldrin said, "No, it's that one over there." And then immediately the guy dropped the topic, had some dude call in who wanted to talk about some paper that Buzz Aldrin had written on like docking procedures for like the International Space Station, because he does have a PhD in, I believe, aeronautical engineering. He's a very well educated guy. But he is violently opposed to being quoted as having seen a UFO. He is violently opposed to you asking him questions about, did he really land on the moon? And he is the most ardent spokesperson in the universe that the UFOs are not real and that there's no life on other planets and yada, yada, yada. So for him to come out and say, no, there's a monolith, it's artificial, it's on the moon of Mars, you can go find it, you should, maybe God put it there, somebody put it there, whatever. It's a stunning event. I mean, it's amazing that Buzz Aldrin, of all the, as I look at the moon right now, Buzz Aldrin, of all people, would do this. It's completely amazing, completely out of character.
Yeah, that
staggers the imagination.
The big thing, and like you said, I mean, he has spent years, saying decades, saying, nothing's there. There's nothing really, anomalous in space, and when he goes in to say this,
yes,
I mean, when he goes in to say this, he leans forward, he puts his finger up, and starts it off.
He's lecturing you.
Yeah,
he's basically lecturing you when he says it. Yes.
Yeah, and he starts off by saying that. What was it? Man needs to go beyond, or something like that.
Beyond the moon. Yeah, he says man needs to go to beyond the moon. We need to go to Mars. I'm paraphrasing. I don't have it in front of me. I think you do, but I don't. Well, read it. It stands for itself. You've got it in front of you, I think. Read it.
What makes you think I have it in front of me? You think I'm that prepared?
Because you're prepared. Yes, I do, actually.
No, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed. But
go to my website. It's on the right side next to the thing about Google.
Hold on, we'll pull it up right now.
I mean, what he says speaks for itself. It's really, it's completely amazing, It's just completely out of character. I mean, I never, in all these years of reading conspiracy stuff, and I have quite a large collection of conspiracy stuff, of the gambit. I've got a lot of moon hoax stuff. Was the moon artificial? Is it hollow? I've got Richard Hoagland stuff. Buzz Aldrin is the last guy in the universe I ever would have thought that he would imply that there was anything artificial, and to be so prepared that he brought a freaking photo of it to the C-SPAN interview. Now, it's interesting because it was on C-SPAN, the one news network that probably nobody watches. We're arguing about that. Once everybody does watch earlier. C-SPAN, nobody watches it. It's usually just interviews with authors, and they show like the Congress or the Senate or whatever. But to go on C-SPAN to present this, I mean, it's like the world's safest place to do it because nobody watches it.
Right.
And I just find it fascinating that nobody talked about it.
Yeah. All right. Here I've got it in front of me here, and by the way, this is July 19th is when this interview took place, and this is that quote of what Buzz Aldrin said. We should go boldly where man has not gone before. Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Well, the universe put it there. If you choose, God put it there. And that is end quote.
What else can I say to that?
Yeah, and I have to agree. That is a very bold statement coming from Buzz Aldrin. Of any people, of all people.
And the real critical part is that you have to watch the video because you've got to see him say it. This guy was not pretending. This is real. Go to video.anomalies.net. I got it up there with a bunch of other stuff, but video.anomalies.net. Search for Buzz Aldrin. It's crazy. I mean, you never I have a tendency to archive this stuff because I'm a firm believer that these kinds of things go away, because they do. But I actually have a great story about that if we have time. But you know, Buzz Aldrin saying this is absolutely amazing. It is completely out of character, and you have to watch the video. The way his eyes move, the uncomfortableness of the guy who was interviewing him, the speed at which the guy interviewing him changed the topic and said, yeah, we'll come back to that later. Never came back to that later. There's no coverage of it. Nobody talked about it. I mean, I looked. I mean, I haven't seen anybody talk about it. It's just like they dropped it.
And now, have you seen the photos of supposed alleged photos of this monolith?
No, I have yet to find them. I do have some phenomenal photos of a monolith on Mars, but I have not been able to find the one on Phobos. If anybody knows where it is, please send it to me. I'm looking for it. I have yet to find it, but most everybody ran out and they found the monolith on Mars, which there is 100% a monolith on Mars. It is rectangular. It really seriously looks like the monolith from 2001. And there's a whole conspiracy about that Kubrick was like really plugged in, and they were using 2001 as a medium by which to kind of introduce these concepts into the populace. And you know, and there was a whole thing about he got this special camera, but it really does look like a freaking monolith. And if anybody wants to email me, I'll send them a high resolution copy of it. You tell me what you think.
Right.
But I have yet to find the one on Phobos. If somebody's able to find it, please send it to me. I promise I won't talk about politics. I hate talking about politics. Can I tell you a short story about why I back things up like that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, you know, we were talking about Fox News and et cetera. I was making the point that they're all bad. One time I was on CNN, and CNN on their website had a story about a mystery plane that was flying over Washington, D.C., actually before the 9/11 attack. Okay?
Right.
Before. So I got really excited. There's a video. They had actually made a segment with one of these CNN reporters that was pretty well known. And, you know, it was very interesting, and they were kind of talking about that this mysterious plane was actually flying before the attack happened, yada, yada. And I made a copy of the URL. I downloaded a copy of the video. There's a plugin for Firefox you can use to do this. I made a backup copy of it because I've seen these things disappear, and from everybody, you know, doesn't matter. I posted stuff from Fox News, but it doesn't matter. They always disappear. I backed it up, and then I sent the URL to my friend. I said, dude, check this out. And he sent an email back to me. Maybe 20 minutes have gone by, 30 minutes. It's like, dude, the URL didn't work. So what do you mean the URL didn't work? It's like the URL didn't work. So I put the thing up. I'm like, okay, this is strange. So I go search all through the CNN website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not there. It's completely vanished. Caches are flushed, nowhere to be found. But I've got it. So I put it up on the site. I tell people, this has been removed from CNN.com, and I gave the original URL that it was at. I said, go here. I'll show you. It's no longer there. Something kooky about this. Everybody needs to check this out. 24 hours later, the video's back on a different URL and slightly edited.
Oh.
That's CNN. So don't trust any of those guys.
Yes.
But yeah, I made a backup of it. It's an amazing video, and like I said, I'm really concerned because this is a big deal, and nobody's talking about it. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. In fact, I can't say for certain, but I'm going to go out there and say, I think that Mysteries Magazine is the only magazine that's covered it.
I don't know. I can't say that I've seen it anywhere else. But yeah, I mean, it's not, you don't find it a lot of places, very little. And it's very interesting. I mean, because, we are talking Buzz Aldrin, of all people.
The second man on the moon.
Exactly. And,
Piloted
this is
the LEM.
Yeah, he's spent, over 12 hours in space. It's, there's a lot of things that to me would give him credibility in what he's saying.
He's also a permanent and undying shill of the American government. That guy, he's very patriotic. He's a national hero, and he will do whatever they tell him to do. Mm-hmm. And he has done everything that they told him to do.
Yeah.
So he's breaking out here, and I think he should be supported. And I think that one of his handlers was asleep at the switch. I mean, they let him do this, and I think for the whole thing's like 2.5 minutes.
Right.
I think for that 2.5 or 3 minutes, I think you're actually seeing the real Buzz Aldrin, somebody who is genuinely amazed by the unknown, somebody who is really curious. Not the Buzz Aldrin that you see in Bert Sabrell's stuff where he's punching him and calling him a nut. I mean, this is the real Buzz Aldrin.
Right.
So
now,
I think it's monumental.
Now, probably the last question we're going to be able to get in is, now, how important do you think it is that we continue to watch Aldrin speak? Do you think that he will, come out and say more, or do you think that he's going to be shut down?
I think he's going to say more. I think that he broke free of the handlers on this one. I don't know how often he's going to do it, but I would look for him to say other stuff. And I think it's going to be peppered in what he's saying. I don't know that he's necessarily going to be able to break free enough to do this again, because I really do believe that somebody's telling him what to say for a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But I really genuinely think that there's more of this that's going to come out, because I think after 40 years he's tired of toting the party line.
Right, yeah. Well, I tell you what, Olav, it was a pleasure having you on. We're out of time here. I know we got to spend so much time on Buzz Aldrin.
Yes, thank you.
And you got your callers.
Yes, and I lost a bunch of listeners, I'm sure. They probably all hate me now. Thank you very much. Usually I had good street cred, but not anymore.
No, I don't think they hate you. I mean, you know how we do it here. Everybody has their right to speak what they feel.
Absolutely.
You don't
agree, call up. Tell me where to put it, and obviously you did.
Exactly. Yes. But before you leave us, though, give us your website so folks can go check it out, and of course they can see the Buzz Aldrin video there.
And I promise no politics. I do not do politics. I will not discuss it except for this show, and that is why.
Will you at least put me up a picture of Glenn Beck?
Yeah, dressed up like a Russian, right? Or like a Soviet from like communist area.
Put his arms around Valerie Jarrett and Van Jones.
I just if you really think that I'm an evil bastard for having said that, I understand, and I respect you for having an opinion. Most people, to that nebulous listener out there, most people don't have an opinion about anything. But just watch Colbert. He's got some good Glenn Beck stuff up there. It's ANOMALIES.net, and this is the first, last, and only time I will ever talk about politics again.
and by the way, for those who are listening, because we got to speak so much about the Buzz Aldrin comment, Olav will have a column in this upcoming issue of Mysteries Magazine, which will be due out very, very soon, and I mean very, very soon. So that will be in that as well, and you can definitely read his analysis on that, the breakdown of what Buzz Aldrin said and why it's important that we pay attention to what he says.
And buy Mysteries Magazine. It's the best magazine ever made.
That is right. Make sure to subscribe. But
absolutely.
But Olav, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. That was Olav Phillips. What an interesting show. Very, very interesting. But I tell you what, we have many, many more great shows coming up throughout the week, or weeks, may I say. So make sure to tune in this Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have none other than the master of the weird, Charlie Carlson, along with the producer, Mia from the Weird Florida series, our Weird Florida show that's going to be airing on PBS. That is Weird Florida, Road Less Traveled. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, about that going to be released. I'm sure we're going to talk about Mysteries Magazine and what else Charlie has going on in that weird little mind of his. But no, it should be a great show. So again, that is Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But we really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. All those in the chat room, what a great turnout. I want to say thank you so much to those and those who are going to tune in to us on the archives. We also appreciate that. So make sure to check out our website, as we are going to be posting more and more stuff on there. You can give your feedback on the homepage by clicking on the feedback link. Sign up for our show reminder. Don't miss a show. We only send those out for the live shows, by the way, which we have more and more booked here lately. I know we did receive some emails stating that we were doing a lot of rebroadcasts, but we're back on track, and you guys showed up in the masses, so we appreciate that. But again, thanks to everyone for joining us, and thanks to Olav for joining us once again. And this has been Shadows in the Dark, where the darkness is illuminated. Good night, everyone.
Shadows in the dark, 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 dark.